by for Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors with your host, Drew Kirby.
Hey, this is Luke Holmes.
I am Morgan Wallen.
I'm Riley Green.
I'm Travis Denning.
Hey, I'm Aaron Lewis.
Hey, it's Luke Bryan.
I'm Tim McGraw.
What's up? This is Ian Munsick.
Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors.
It's Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors. Good morning, I'm Drew, and as always, we have the luxury of having our friends over at Game and Fish come in, especially when we have questions. And Janet, I know you guys get calls nonstop on the daily basis of little questions, big questions, interesting questions, or, you know, teachers always said there's no such thing as a dumb question, but sometimes I'm afraid that that's not the case.
Well, you know, in our case, Drew, it's maybe not a dumb question, but maybe a dumb answer. And one of the things that I always did growing up was listen to Stump the Chumps on NPR, Car Talk. That was like my favorite thing, was when they, you know, would call in and stump the chumps. And I know Brian and I often feel like the chumps that are getting stumped when you have these call-in questions. And so today we brought someone on with us who is not the chump that gets stumped ever. And so we have Michelle, who is one of our office managers, with us. And, you know, we often say, if you don't know, just call or come in. We're just here to help. And this is who you're going to interact with if you do call. First line of answering phones and helping. And I just want to let everybody know that oftentimes people will look behind Michelle to look at Brian to see the answer. Guess what? Brian doesn't know the answer. It's Michelle. So I'm glad that we have her here to answer our questions.
Boy, I feel good now, Drew. Let's go, buddy.
So it's fun with this show. We're moving on season 4 now, I think. So we're really getting into where people are interested, and especially the fact that they have access right to you guys at Game and Fish. And I was talking to a guy that had just turned 65 and was really confused about the Pioneer license. He wasn't sure what all was really entailing in the license, what it could be used for, where it could be used, how it could be used. So I thought, let's go right to the source. And that's, I think, exactly the type of situation that you're talking about with Michelle, that I said Pioneer and her eyes lit up.
Yes. So those Pioneer licenses, when you turn 65 and you've been a 30-year resident, you can qualify for a small game bird fishing license. This license actually exempts you from that conservation stamp. So there's no more need to get that conservation stamp. If
you're a duck hunter or a goose hunter and you get one of these Pioneer licenses, that's all you really need. You don't have to worry about every June 30th or whatever it is going out and buying your new one in September when they come out.
But you do have to still get your HIP permit. So that's that, you know, federal stamp that you need. And then you also need your duck stamp if you're going to be hunting duck and goose.
Does that work anywhere in like big game? Because I know one of the questions that the guy had is, well, do I still need to, you know, go get a regular license? Do I need to fill out the paperwork just like I did before 65?
When you turn 70 and you've been a 50-year resident, you qualify for reduced price licenses for elk, deer, antelope, wild turkey.
So then after 70 and 50 years, then you can get that reduced price.
If you just have a Pioneer license, that doesn't give you access to go just do everything. It's not like a lifetime license where you pick and choose. So you still have to make sure that you're applying. And then when you go to the application system, that portal, does it automatically recognize that you are whatever ages and whatever years of residency? Again, stump the chump. I don't know these things, to make sure that you get the right price. Is that all coded in there? Great.
Yes. So you can do that online. You can do that at a regional office. You can do that at headquarters. It automatically gets those discounts in there once you qualify for those licenses.
So because of the online portal now where everyone is already pre-registered in this portal, it keeps your information and keeps you up to date with everything. So when you turn 65, you get your Pioneer. In 5 years, it'll automatically know that you're at the 70 mark.
But you still have to come in and get your Pioneer license.
You still have to purchase the license.
So do you just one time get the Pioneer license, or is that a renew every year?
So the one when you get your big or your small game bird and fishing, that one, you do not have to get that renewed every year. The big game and the wild turkey, yes, purchase every year.
Information for this, we're looking at 65 and 70. And then can you still buy a lifetime license if you wanted to and you weren't 65 or 70?
Absolutely. You have to be a 10-year resident to get a lifetime license. And we have several different options of those. You can get fishing only. You can get game bird, small game fishing. You can get conservation stamp only, which that one is not a residency requirement. So with the conservation stamp, a non-resident can get a lifetime one of those. Or you can get the whole shebang for a whole $681.50.
And really, you pay the $681.50, and you'll never have to purchase a small game fishing or the conservation stamp.
That's correct.
And one of the great things about that, Drew, is it's an awesome Christmas present for your kids. When they turn 10, if they've been a resident their whole life of Wyoming, then even if they grow up and they go away to college and they find a job in Massachusetts, when they come back, they can still use that license when they're 35 for, it's already been paid for. They can fish in Wyoming, or they can hunt small game, or whatever that lifetime license is that they purchased. And that's really a neat deal with Christmas coming up, something for people to think about.
What about the Pioneer license? You've obviously been living here a long time. When you get that, say you move to Florida because it's too cold here and you decide you want to come back for small game and fishing. Is that okay, or do you need to redo the license?
So you actually lose that qualification once you move out of state. You have to establish that residency back if you move back to Wyoming.
And isn't it something like 50 years continuous residency, or 35 years?
For the Pioneer Heritage and that Pioneer, when you hit 75, yes, has to be consecutively 50 years. Now that small game bird fishing, it's a total amount of 30 years. So if I left and went to Oregon for a year and decided, I want to come back to Wyoming to live, I would have to establish that Wyoming residency again. And then I would still end up with, say 31 years. And so I would still be able to qualify for that after a year.
Really tricky point too, that maybe Brian can clarify. The word residency, we keep throwing around a lot. What does that require, Brian? It's not just living in Wyoming for one day, correct?
Yeah, you have to domicile in the state of Wyoming for one complete year to establish residency. So, living here for a year is when you establish the residency to become a resident of Wyoming. So the other thing about the Pioneer, the 65 Pioneer, you actually have to come into our office and get one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have to come in and get the license, that Pioneer at 65. You actually have to come to the office and get one.
You need to come in and see Michelle because she can explain it. She can show you the forms. Even just talking about it, it seems like it's more confusing than it is because there's, kind of branches off of everything. But really, if you go in and talk to Michelle or any of the other office managers there at Game and Fish, you're going to be able to get the information that you need. And just know that, it's a benefit to live in Wyoming. And, if you have the opportunity, you might as well take it.
Absolutely, Drew. And now you know why we call this Stump the Chumps and why we always say just call, because oftentimes it can be very tricky depending on all the ins and outs and where we are in the licensing system.
It's Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors.
Rocky Mountain Discount Sports is where we're hanging today. It's Drew and Brian Woodward. And Brian, we had a little bit of cold snap. We've had some snow, and I think that we'll be ready for the 4th of November when duck season reopens.
Yeah, we definitely had a little bit of a cold snap that kind of, I think we were all kind of anticipating it, but we're never really ready for it.
Right. We're never ready for it, and we think they're joking because
We're
it's like,
hoping.
we've always heard this, but then all of a sudden, there it is.
Right. Then you realize, where did I put my gloves? Oh, I used to have a beanie. Where'd my beanie go?
It's funny. When I got into my truck this morning, because I leave to go to work really, really early, and I was like, where are my boots? You know, you haven't had to wear them since the spring, and so then I had to search through the garage, and then I remembered I cleaned out the garage, so I may have to buy some boots here while I'm here today.
Yeah, my wife was kind of wondering why I had 5 pairs of left-handed gloves.
It's funny how you accumulate stuff like that.
I don't know where all the rights are, but they're somewhere.
Last weekend I went to Laramie Peak, and it got pretty chilly at night, and I didn't have the right socks. And I know that's something that a lot of guys are probably coming in now and stocking up on because they're saying the winter's going to be pretty rough. So
yeah, and we're selling lots of hand warmers, lots of toe warmers, foot warmers. We've even got these really nice seat cushions that have warmers in them, and we're selling a lot of them just for football games. And there's still a lot of sports that are kind of high school sports that are going on. And I think I heard state volleyball's are here, are coming up. So there's lots to do, and again, just being prepared and having some way to stay warm.
You know, the Wyoming football season, they goes until the 4th week of November. So it's definitely going to be cold. So come on in and get your cold weather stuff. And, it's always a lot colder in Laramie. It's, 5,000 feet or 2,000 feet higher than it is here. So being prepared is a good thing for that.
Right. Yeah, I know we're just never quite ready for this cold weather, and we've had probably the nicest spring that I've seen in 20 years of being here. I mean, we've seen more leaves and colors on trees it's been a fantastic fall, but it's time for winter, unfortunately.
It sure is, and it'll be here in full on. And a lot of the hunting seasons have been going on, and one thing that is kind of becoming a concern again is some of the ammo levels that are here or maybe in the future being a problem.
Yeah, we did a pretty good job with being able to keep most of the hunting rifle calibers, in stock. But with what's gone on overseas with Turkey and Israel and some of those other countries, just the uncertainty of everything over there, 223, 556, and I think even 9mm starting to dry up a little bit.
So most of the military rounds, those sizes. Sure. But so obviously we're not out. It's not a let's rush the store. It's buy some as you need some. And
I think we all kind of enjoyed the summer and got out and did a little bit of shooting, and now might be a good time to get some of that ammo replaced that maybe you plinked around a little bit too much over the summer, and get it restocked just to make sure you have it.
What about reloading supplies? Are you guys sitting pretty with that?
Yeah, reloading supplies have been pretty good all along. Primers have been the biggest concern, and then certain types of powders have been hard to get. But for the most part, a guy can get by with something that we've got in stock. Large magnum rifle primers are still a challenge to get. But we have been seeing quite a few large rifle primers, so we can get a guy started all die sets, and even just Hornady basic reloading sets. We can get you going.
With Hornady, it wasn't long ago the Nebraska facility, they had an accident on their campus there, and has that affected any of the ammo coming in from Hornady?
We haven't seen it affect them, and prayers to the family there. There was one death over there, and so that was definitely a tragedy in itself. But it doesn't seem to have really affected anything at this point too much. But there's enough other things going on in the world that are certainly affecting ammo deliveries.
Are we going to get back into that supply issue where you're waiting for a year and a half for a shipment to come in, and luckily right now you're not in any danger of running out of things, especially when it comes to hunting and fishing?
I've been pretty cautious about and just pretty alert of what's kind of selling and what people are asking for, and kind of listening to customers of what they can't find in other places, and really tried to focus on making sure that we have that in stock. So felt like I did a pretty good job over the last couple of years, although the shelves emptied out. Our distributors and our manufacturers, they just didn't have it or weren't shipping it. So we're not to that point by any means, but ammo production in the U.S. is always tricky with different government regulations. We're not producing any lead in the U.S. anymore. Everything that we're loading is getting imported. So definitely makes it a challenge, and just makes a person, be pretty leery and aware of, what they like to do. So for myself, I shoot a 300 Win Mag. I've got a certain bullet that I like, and I figure I'm gonna make sure that I have a 5-year supply or a 10-year or a lifetime supply of that ammo for that particular gun, because that's my primary weapon for elk season. I don't necessarily have to have all my guns loaded up, but I want to make sure that that one gun that I shoot the most, that I'm not gonna have to worry about what I'm gonna do next year for ammo.
When you go and you kind of look at what you've got, and you were saying that yesterday you kind of went and did inventory at your house just to kind of see how it was going, and I'm sure the majority of the folks in Wyoming have a pretty good supply anyway. Do you see more people taking interest in the reloading because of the fact that if it gets into a situation where the shelves aren't as full, that maybe they could do it themselves?
For people that have time to do it, I think it's just another one of those possible hobbies you could pick up, right? There's probably an initial cost, to get started. Kind of like buying grinding like grinders and stuff for processing your own elk. There's an initial cost up front on those, but after that, it kind of goes down. So once you've got your main system to reload, then if you're going to reload a separate caliber, it's just a different die set. Maybe you're going to have to use a different type of powder. Then guys that do a lot of reloading are constantly looking for those primers and make sure that they've got their pounds of powder and they've got their brass, and they're always kind of looking. And so I think if you're looking for another hobby and you're the type of person that really wants to fine tune your loads, I think it's a great option. For myself, I've got enough hobbies already. I don't need another one, So for me, even though I think it's a really cool process and really neat to be able to, it's kind of like baking your own bread, right? Or having your own garden. You can be kind of self-sufficient, not rely on somebody else to provide those things for you. But I think, it just depends on the person. We have a lot of our older clientele that have been reloading for years, and it makes a lot of sense for those guys to continue doing what they're doing.
Right. And, one thing that we talked about last week, and we don't mention it a lot, but, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports has multiple locations all over the state, and the website really kind of connects all of them, and then you can order what you need. And when it comes to firearms and even reloading supplies, if they live in Casper, can they go to the website, and then if maybe it's in another store, they can get it brought in?
Yeah, so the website pretty much just ties all my warehouses together. So anyone that we can pull product from, if it's available through them, you'll be able to find it on that website. It doesn't really show us a very good inventory of what's actually in the store. So if you live in a community that, like Gillette or Riverton or Sheridan, and you're looking for primers, your best option is just to call the store and ask. But the website, especially for guns and accessories, if you're looking for a magazine for a pistol that, you just want extras or you can't find one for a certain model, it's a great resource for that.
All right. Well, get over and check that out. If you haven't been to their website yet, it's really easy to use, and you can do your shopping right there. And, if you're maybe down and out and you still want a Rocky Mountain Discount Sports fix, that's where you can do it, RockyMountainDiscountSports.com.
It's Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors.
It's Drew and Brian at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, and we've always talked about how many different things there are to do here in Wyoming, and one thing is fishing. You were still out on you went to Pathfinder last weekend, and were the fish still biting?
They were. Yeah, it was good. I don't know, 15 or 20. We got out there about 8 o'clock in the morning, got off the water about 1. Yeah, they weren't everywhere. We had to kind of hunt and peck for them a little bit, but biggest was 21 inches. So it was a good day.
So you can go out now, and I know not too long we'll be talking about ice fishing, but for now you can still get out and do that. And we're getting a little bit colder weather-wise, and some guys have already thought about winterizing their boat. So it probably is a good idea to go out if you're going to, and then just put her away.
Yeah, this cold weather, I mean, it definitely, for those of us that have outboards, it's a little bit easier, not as much prep work than those guys with those inboards. But yeah, the winter's going to be here, and you definitely don't want things freezing up on you. So if you haven't got your boat and your camper winterized, you better get to it quickly.
One thing that I know that a lot of people, they keep bringing up a lot here is that, you can almost fish the river all year round because it mostly never really freezes up in most spots.
Yeah, and after we get a couple of good freezes, usually that moss kind of breaks loose, and the guys have really been fighting that moss here for the last couple of months. So a little cold weather kind of helps that. So got to kind of pick your days. It's really nice when you're this close to the reef or wherever you want to fish, and wait for those nicer days and get out there because the fish are still biting.
So you and I are going to do some elk hunting here over the next couple of weeks, and Tony at Cedar Ridge Outfitters is going to take us out and help us get our harvest for the year. And then the next process is processing the elk. And it's one of those things that I've never killed an elk. I've killed deer before, but that's a lot more meat to deal with. So I mean, that's got to be quite the process.
Yeah, it is. You got to find, and if you're going to process it yourself, you got to find how you're going to hang it for, whatever length of time that you're going to hang it. Make sure the temperature's good, and if it's not good, then you got to find who can hang it for you or find a cooler. And then the process. I mean, there's a chance we might have 2 or 3 elk that we have to deal with, and put the grinder to work.
What's the best thing? I know that you have a method that you go if you're going to grind up burger or whatever. What's your go-to method?
So I usually will try to hang it for 7 to 10, 12 days, somewhere in that ballpark. And then I usually get a table set up and start just working it. And I do most of mine a lot of just burger. Some I'll mix with suet. Some of it I'll just do straight burger. So if I'm going to make jerky with it, I don't need that extra fat in there.
Right.
I don't do a lot of sausage anymore with it. We'll take all the tenderloins and try to cut whatever we can for good steak cuts. We've got our own wrap, to wrap them and stamp them and, all that kind of stuff. So identify at least what you got in each bag.
In doing it yourself, there have been talk over the years that people get a little concerned that, is that really my elk or my deer that they're getting back? But processing yourself, you kind of know exactly whose it is,
There's no question on whose it is or how it was handled, right? So from the field to the table, you're going to see every process and every step of it.
When you go, say you're going mule deer hunting, and then you're going antelope hunting and elk hunting, and you're processing it all up yourself, do you go about the process any different, or just deal with it as it comes in?
Yeah, usually, you're probably not killing them all in the same day. I mean,
yeah.
I've never am. So, it's a lot of times you're just processing one, getting everything cleaned up, kind of put away. And then, if you get another one, then you start with the next process.
So really, the process can start here at Rocky Mountain Discount Sport because you've got to have all that. And we talked about this in the earlier segment about, making sure you've got everything, and you're just going to have to pay that one chunk of money one time instead of, every year. And that really ends up being quite a savings.
Yeah, and I've got, quite a few guys that I know that, have kind of partnered up with their buddies. 2 or 3 of you don't all need your own grinder. Right. I mean, it is convenient sometimes to be able to have one, but, a lot of times, it's, you're getting your buddies together anyways to cut up and do the wrapping and the packaging itself. So, certainly it's not, out of the question to split the price of a grinder between a couple guys. And then, next year you're like, it'd be nice to do some sausage. Maybe we need to do a sausage stuffer, or a scale to make sure we actually have 1 pound bags instead of, 1.5 and 2 pound bags, whatever the case is. So, it's certainly an option for guys. And, it's one of those things. It's one of those pieces of equipment that certainly hasn't gone to waste in my household.
Well, I'll tell you that if you haven't got your stuff yet for this year, maybe you're waiting until you actually go out and harvest something, because,
You never know.
you buy it, you don't need it, then you wait till next year.
You certainly don't need a grinder for tag soup.
Yeah, right. Oh, the good old tag soup, man. You can't go wrong there. You also can't go wrong coming in to Rocky Mountain Discount Sport and making sure that you're all stocked up.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
And we're back on Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors. Chad Griffin is with us from Irreverent Warriors. And Chad, we appreciate you coming in. And man, we met out at Bob's place out of Riverbend. And,
that's a blast.
Did some shooting and just kind of kicking around and chatting. And it's always fun to see groups like HD Outdoors get together and bring the veterans in. And that's kind of what you're doing here with, the Irreverent Warriors.
Yeah, well, Irreverent Warriors has been around since 2014, 15. Danny O'Malley, who started the organization back in San Diego, he was sitting on the beach with a couple buddies. He just lost his best friend to veteran suicide. And they're sitting on the beach going, what can we do? Danny was a partier back in his high school days before he went to the Marine Corps, and he always had a gift of getting people together. So that kind of kicked off Irreverent Warriors back then, and today we're 100-plus cities that we're in all around the nation. Our motto is we use humor and camaraderie to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. We do a lot of get-togethers. We try to get people together, every once in a while. We don't do meetings. We don't do, the typical veteran stuff. We want to use humor and camaraderie. Kind of like you seen out there at Bob's place.
Yeah.
That's the second time I'd been out there, and I knew none of those guys really. We kind of BS'd a little bit, but, there was no real introduction, and we're still giving each other crap. And that's just the veteran community. We know each other. Some of us might have seen some pretty horrible stuff and might have had to do some horrible things in life, overseas or in the service. But you get around each other, you feel safe. You can use that humor that only veterans know.
I mean, even if you weren't in a wartime, you know what these guys have gone through mentally just to get to where they were.
Exactly.
And I think that's what a lot of these organizations do for these vets. If one doesn't work, there's another one that you can fit into. And you probably see a lot of the same guys at a lot of these organizations.
Absolutely. You go up to the VFW, see the same 20 guys sitting out there drinking old fashions and the good drinks, and you realize that they got a camaraderie. They might not talk much to each other, but knowing you're around the veteran community. So we need more of those organizations that are like, hey, come out here. Thanks to Brian and all those guys at Rocky Mountain Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing to go out there. It costs you gas to go out there.
Yeah, and you can they shoot clays and get together and eat and kick back and relax.
You were out there when we were all BSing, and, Bud was brand new out there, and I think he had a good time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's just, you don't realize those guys are around here until you take that risk and you go do something. I'll tell you what, I like to shelter in place. I come home from work, I go to the gym, I come home, and I do nothing.
Right. Well, and that's where the outdoors comes in a lot with guys. If it's hunting and shooting or even out hiking and rucking, then that's what Irreverent Warriors really is just a chance for guys to get out and ruck.
We just want to get out. Once a year, we'll have a hike, a little 8-10 mile walk through town, and let the veterans show off. This week was 9/11. We got to remember that these guys coming home from war and overseas deployments, they've seen some stuff that we don't know about, and we never will. And only veterans can get together and share that experience with each other and understand fully.
The number of men and women that we lost over the last 22 years, because so many people on September 12th were like, I'm in, I'm going, and that's where a lot of folks, came in. And, like you said, so many have gone through so many different things. And now that you are doing Irreverent Warriors, you guys are going to do this kind of every year, an honorary day for the veterans and for them to get out and do things.
Well, next Memorial Day weekend, next Saturday, May 25th, 2024, I'm going to be putting on a hike. We're going to start up at the VFW. We're going to walk through town, hit a couple spots for lunch, hit a park, do some games. We're going to walk through town. We're going to party. It's veterans only on the walk, and you don't be able to have that camaraderie and talk.
So even though the walk isn't until May and Memorial Day, you guys are still kind of having your get-togethers, and it's open to any veteran, right?
Any veteran, whether you serve. I mean, if you're still from World War II, we'd love to meet you. Just get to know you. Vietnam, Korea, Desert Storm 1, Desert Storm 2, the global war of terrorism. You're serving today. You're in ROTC and you're getting ready to join, you signed your papers, you're welcome to join us. Seeing the young kids at these events that just came out of basic and they were at home for 3 days and like, oh, there's a hike, great. I mean, it's funny watching those guys because we don't give you a hard time. We don't razz you. We don't treat you like the private you are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're going to give you a big hug, tell you we love you, tell you, you know, you've always got a brotherhood or a sisterhood back here with us. Right now, I'm trying to watch some football together. That's a big one. You know, college football started up a little bit all around town. Like, I share HD Outdoors veterans shoot every first Friday of the night. It's such a high being around those guys. And Brian and Bob and John and Lindsay, such wonderful people to do that.
Yeah.
But the talks that we're sitting around BSing, talking hunting stories, talking, you know, just shooting the breeze. It's amazing.
When you were out there, you said, man, it's been a long time since I've actually done this. And I mean, and then you stepped up and you cracked a few, but you could tell
I hit 2 out of 25.
All right, you
I did get skunked. I did get skunked.
But, I mean, in that kind of a situation, I know it's got to bring, you know, where you were and going through basic and, you know, just kind of bringing back memories like that, and to be able to experience with a bunch of guys that were out there, was, you know,
it's just cool. Awesome because, you know, you take it serious. You want to show yourself good.
Right. Well, you know, that's the best part with those guys is they like to do that kind of stuff. Experienced or non-experienced, you know, they had the guns and the ammo that it's all provided because they want veterans just to come out.
They just want people to get together. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing when you see guys that you don't know, you walk up, hey, I'm so-and-so, you shooting? Oh, I think it was Tom, the old guy, is giving a hard time. He's like, oh, come on, rookie. I mean, he's just razzing me. He's got 30 years on me, but he's one of the greatest guys I've met because you just got that camaraderie. And we used humor to, you know, bond over.
Well, it's always a good time. And you know, not being a veteran and having friends that are veterans and getting to know all the, you know, these guys here in town, it's really nice. But to have that camaraderie, and that's what you're doing, Irreverent Warriors. What's the best way for folks to get a hold of you to, you know, see what's going on?
If you're a veteran, IW Wyoming on Facebook is how we communicate. You can look me up, Chad Griffin, on Facebook. My phone number is 913-972-2285. Give me a call. Let me know you're out there. I mean, I'll go shoot darts, play pool, have a drink at the bar, and watch football, watch baseball, basketball, whatever.
You want be a shoulder. If somebody
you want to go for a walk, I got bad knees, but I'll walk it.
Yeah, right.
So another way you can get out for more of the general public, Buffalo Warriors Ruck Club on Facebook. We're going to start doing rucks, which is basically a backpack. Throw a backpack, put a bottle of water in it for all I care. Right now, we're just going to do some town walks until it gets too cold. Depending on the weather over the winter, we'll do some quote-unquote hikes to coffee shops and breakfast places. Once the weather breaks next spring, we're going to get out in the mountains. We're going to go out, you know, walk 4 or 5 miles. But when we go out and have social events, everybody's welcome.
Now, if you want to reach out to Chad, you can hit us up on the My Country 95.5 app or the K2 radio app, and we will get all your information and give it to Chad so that he can get in contact with you. And then That way you can get involved with this. If you're a vet, you're a recent vet that has only been out for a little while, this could be a great way for you to kind of start, feeling what it's like to be a little bit in the normal frame of mind with your comrades.
Like I said, whatever you want to do, you want to go downtown to the quilt store and do a quilt. I've never done a quilt, but I will go do a quilt with you.
Call me that day too, because I'd like to see Chad doing some quilt work.
I will definitely take a picture for you, Drew, and we'll get that out on the Facebook.
Awesome. Well, Chad, man, we really appreciate it, and want to talk to you more
absolutely
as we can kind of get closer to the event, and once we kind of get out there, and let's do that.
And if you're a business that wants to help sponsor, we don't need a lot of money. 97 cents of every dollar we bring in goes to the hikes, to the organization. There's only 3 people in this organization that gets paid. Everything else is charity. I do this for free. All the other hike coordinators do them for free. Your money's well spent with us.
Yeah, and again, just reach out on the radio station's app and hit that message button and send me a message. I'll get all the info over to Chad. But Chad, thank you, man.
Drew, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm sure this is the last time we'll see. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see you back out there in October out at Bob's place. And if you're a veteran, whether you shoot or you don't shoot, come out to HD Outdoors. It is a blast because only so many people can shoot, and the rest of the time we're shooting the breeze and telling stories and enjoying a fresh cold drink, whether it's a soda or you want an adult beverage, bring it out. Yeah. We're good.
Yeah, it's a good time. And you can go follow HD Outdoors Wyoming on social media as well.
Yep.
So, all right, Chad, thanks so much,
Thank you, Drew. It's been an honor.
Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors with Drew Kirby. If you have a question, want to make a comment, or have an idea for a show topic, message us on the My Country mobile app. Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.